For as long as humans have looked up at the night sky, we have asked the same question: what is out there? And more than that, where does it end? It is one of the most unsettling ideas in all of science, because the universe does not only feel large, it feels impossible. The distances are so extreme that our minds stop making sense of them. Light takes years to cross a single nearby star system. It takes tens of thousands of years to travel across our galaxy. And when we look even farther, we are not just seeing space. We are seeing time. Every telescope is also a time machine. The farther we look, the farther back we see. And that means when we ask what happens at the edge of the universe, we are really asking something deeper. Are we seeing the true boundary of reality? Or are we only seeing the limit of what light has had time to reach us? That difference changes everything. In the early 20th century, Edwin Hubble made a discovery that changed our picture of the cosmos forever. He showed that galaxies are moving away from us and that the universe is expanding. That did not mean we were sitting at the center of creation. It meant something much stranger. Space itself was stretching. Long before Hubble, Georges Lemaitre, a Belgian priest and physicist, had already suggested that the universe was expanding from a much denser past. His idea became one of the foundations of modern cosmology. And when Albert Einstein developed general relativity, he gave scientists the framework they needed to understand gravity not as a force pulling through empty space, but as the bending of spacetime itself. Once those ideas came together, the universe began to look less like a static stage and more like a living, changing structure. And that raises the question again. If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? The answer is uncomfortable, because in modern cosmology, the universe does not need an outside container. The expansion is not like an explosion into empty space. It is space itself getting larger. The dots on a balloon move away from each other as the balloon inflates, but the surface does not need a special edge where the rubber ends. The surface itself is what matters. The universe may work in a similar way. So when people imagine the edge of the universe, they often picture a border like the edge of an ocean or the end of a map. But the real answer may be more mysterious. There may be no edge at all. Instead, there is the observable universe. That is the part of the universe we can actually see, because light from there has had time to reach us since the beginning of cosmic history. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old, but the observable universe is much larger than 13.8 billion light years in radius, because space has been expanding the whole time. The farthest light we can detect today comes from regions that are now incredibly distant. So the edge we speak about is not a wall, it is a horizon. And just like the horizon on Earth, it does not mean nothing exists beyond it. It only means that from where we stand, we cannot see past it. This is one of the strangest truths in cosmology. There may be billions upon billions of galaxies beyond the reach of our telescopes, and yet we can never know them directly. Not because they are hidden behind a barrier, but because the universe is expanding too fast for their light to ever reach us. In a sense, the edge of the universe is not a place. It is a limit in information. That is a terrifying idea if you sit with it long enough, because it means there may be entire regions of reality that will forever remain outside human knowledge. Not because they are imaginary, not because they are destroyed, but because the structure of the universe itself places them beyond our reach. And yet that is only the first layer of the mystery. What if the observable universe is not the whole universe? Most cosmologists think it is not. What we can see may be only a tiny patch of something much larger. The full universe could be unimaginably vast. It could even be infinite. If that is true, then there is no edge in the ordinary sense at all. There is just more universe forever. But there is another possibility too. The universe could be finite and still have no edge. That sounds impossible at first, but it is not. A good example is the surface of the Earth. It has a finite area, but if you walk in one direction, you never reach a cliff where the ground simply stops. You eventually come back to where you began. The surface is finite, but it has no boundary. Cosmologists sometimes ask whether the universe could behave in a similar way on a far larger scale. Maybe space curves back on itself in a form that our minds cannot easily picture. Maybe the total universe is limited, but without any true edge. If so, then asking, what is beyond the edge, becomes the wrong question entirely. There may not be an edge to go beyond. And that is what makes this subject so haunting. The answer may depend on the shape of reality itself. When we look out into space, we also see the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the early universe. It is one of the most important pieces of evidence in modern cosmology. It tells us that the universe was once hot, dense, and very young. It is like a photograph from the beginning of time, stretched across the whole sky. But even that ancient light has a limit. Beyond it, the universe was once too opaque for light to travel freely. So again, we meet a boundary. Again, we find a horizon. Again, we realize that there are places our eyes cannot reach. And maybe that is the deeper lesson. The universe does not present itself to us as a complete object. It reveals itself in layers, each one hiding another. The farther we go, the more we discover that the cosmos is not simply large. It is structured in such a way that knowledge itself has a frontier. Some scientists have wondered whether the universe is part of a much larger multiverse, where our visible cosmos is only one region among many. That idea is speculative, and there is still no direct proof, but it shows how far human imagination goes when it stands before the unknown. If the universe has no edge, maybe it is because what we call the universe is only one piece of a much bigger reality. Or maybe there is no outside at all. Maybe the universe is everything that can exist, and asking what lies beyond it is like asking what is north of the North Pole. The question sounds simple until you realize the framework itself breaks down. That is what the edge of the universe does to the mind. It exposes the limits of language. It makes ordinary ideas feel too small. We are used to things having borders, walls, ends, and final points. But the universe may not obey those instincts. It may not care how we imagine beginnings and endings. It may be far stranger than a map can show. And perhaps the most unsettling possibility is this. The universe may have no edge, but our understanding always will. We can build better telescopes. We can measure the expansion more precisely. We can trace the history of galaxies, stars, and dark energy. We can follow the cosmic story farther than any generation before us. But there may always be a final boundary where observation ends and speculation begins. That does not make the search meaningless. It makes it human. Because the edge of the universe is not only a question about space. It is a question about what it means to know anything at all. We live on a tiny world circling an ordinary star, inside a galaxy among billions, inside a universe that may be endless or finite or curved, or far stranger than any of those words can capture. And still, we ask. We look into the dark and try to understand what it contains. We wonder whether there is a boundary somewhere out there, or whether the cosmos simply continues forever, silent and indifferent, beyond every horizon we can reach. Maybe the universe has no edge. Maybe we are the ones standing at the edge of understanding. And maybe, in the end, that is where the real mystery begins.